Hi everyone, welcome back to the workshop. In the last video I showed you how I designed a high-end fingerboard with a killer shape, which ended up becoming December Fingerboards. Together with my friend Mauro, we've been hard at work making boards, fulfilling your orders, and we're so thankful for your support. You enable us to keep on pushing the bar, keep us researching to come up with even better product. So thank you to everyone who answered our customer feedback form about the boards, as your input enables us to understand how to make December boards even better. As I said at the end of the last video, I was already working on making the best boards in the world even better, and this is what this video is about, as I'm going to tell you about our new boards we're putting out. I think when thinking of carbon fiber, we all have this idea in our head that it's stronger. When people say, oh, it's carbon fiber reinforced, our brain says, strong. Carbon fiber is actually comparable to steel, as they're both extremely resistant to deformation. Except carbon fiber is 5 times lighter, which is crazy. But I don't think many of us have had the opportunity to actually witness, to experience firsthand the strength of carbon fiber, to compare something before and after it received carbon fiber reinforcement. I sure didn't, and so I was so surprised when I tried it for the first time on one of our boards. Later on in the video, I will be showing a way I found to compare a regular wooden board to a carbon fiber board, but just for a minute here, let me just talk about how they feel first. So as I said, and based on the feedback of our customers, you guys and girls, one thing about our boards is that they have a ton of pop. They're super snappy, but I find this 5-ply carbon fiber board to be even snappier. It is so reactive. It's a little thinner than a regular 5-ply maple board. It feels lighter too, although it's not, it's a tad heavier, about half a gram. And also, and I find it hard to wrap my head around, it's actually way more rigid than a regular board by like a lot. And it feels amazing. It's very different. Now, you might tell me, if you want a stiffer board, you can just use 7 plies instead of 5 plies. I like heavier boards rather than lighter ones. And I hear you, but I have thoughts. First of all, I myself, I really don't like 7-ply fingerboards. Super bulky, I don't like how they look, they feel out of proportion, they don't copy the shape of the mold as well as a 5-ply board. And that's personal, but I find they perform worse too, so 7 plies, not for me. But I do understand that the thin style of board that I just mentioned before, despite its incredible feel, in my opinion, might not suit your needs and taste. So I kept on trying different ratios of wood to carbon fiber, mixing up the plies, their amounts, their order, and I came up with what we call the Carbon 6, which features a double core. However, surprisingly, not a double carbon fiber core, but a double wooden core. Through research, aka pressing a ton of boards and trying them out, I found that the best way to enjoy the benefits of carbon fiber while retaining as much thickness and weight as possible is to have a double layer of long grain wood in the middle. This way, the board is only very slightly thicker and heavier than a normal wooden board, but it's incredibly stiffer, while retaining and respecting the original shape, right? It's like a board on steroids. It does feel powerful, which is not something I ever expected to say about a fingerboard. I know that other brands have also made carbon fiber boards in the past, but I think our take on it is a little different because we're actually, as always, really focusing on performance, not on the novelty factor. I'm not really interested in the carbon fiber look. What fascinates me is the incredible difference it makes on the way the boards feel. And since you can't be here in the workshop with me to feel it, I'm gonna try my best to measure it. So you see I put together this little contraption. The board is held fixed on one end, while the other end is placed inside a rotating hub, which when rotated will twist the board along its length, like a kickflip. In the middle of all of this, we have a luggage scale which tells us how much force the board is taking until failure, that is, breakage or delamination. We have this couple nylon bushings squished in between a few nuts and a threaded rod, and with the drill we will unscrew the threaded rod, which is fixed at this point, and it's gonna pull on the whole thing. The board in there, up, I'm gonna record what happens in scale with my phone while I'm using the drill.
Nice and broken.
So why am I measuring resistance to torsion and not just try to break the board in half to see how strong it is? Well, I don't think breaking the board in half is very useful data, to be honest, unless you drop it under a car, and even then I guess it will be of no use to know how much of a fight your defunct fingerboard put up before passing away. However, to understand the difference between how different boards flex is useful data, because when fingerboarding, we exert pressure on different spots of the board and at different angles, and how the board reacts to the energy we input when flicking and scooping, when pinching and loading before jumping. Why am I doing this? That's relevant to fingerboarding. And I hope to measure something interesting and hopefully something that echoes what I feel when handling and riding the board. I'll also point out that I'm not interested to know the specific number of how much force or weight it takes to break the boards. What I want to do is compare them, so I can say, okay, this one is 0.3 times more rigid, and this one is 3 times more rigid, and so on, so that you at home can imagine the difference between your board versus what a carbon 5 or a carbon 6 board feels like. Okay, so I think our test machine works. It's pretty rudimentary, pretty janky, but I think we can move on to breaking a whole bunch of decks, starting with wooden boards and then moving on to carbon fiber with 5 plies and then 6 plies, and see what kind of data we can extract from all those breakings. We only have these boards to test it out with, so these are all wooden boards, carbon 5 and very few carbon 6, so it'd be great to have a bigger amount of samples to test, but unfortunately that's all there is. That's all the test boards from the board symmetry that we have. So the differences in strength are going to have to be pretty dramatic to be noticeable with so little samples. We're going to start with the wooden boards, no carbon fiber. Okay. Okay, so gotta do that, I don't know, like 30 more times. Okay, so I've done all the wooden ones, and now it's on to the carbon fiber. So, that's the carbon fiber ones were breaking at a higher point, so like the data is following the feeling, it seems at least, so that's pretty cool. And now onto the 6-ply boards. Let's see how they do. Let's go. We maxed out. Boards are stronger than the scale. We maxed it out. Oh my god. It doesn't break. I just maxed out the scale, but this board's not broken per se. It didn't snap. It's still in one piece. It just broke there. It's like it yielded, but it's not broken, and it maxed out the scale. 6-ply, right? So yeah, so it's compromised, right, the strength of it, but it's not exactly broken, snapped like the other ones, like it's still in one piece. That luggage scale only goes up to 40 kilos, which I thought was going to be plenty, but maybe not. Max out Again? What the Haha! Error again. Error again. Okay. Managed to break it, but over 40 kilos. Yeah, okay, so great sales pitch, and it's actually coherent with what I felt about the boards. Like, and I'm also so happy because I spent so damn long on that janky test machine, and it works and it tests. So that's good. I didn't have that many, but I didn't need that many of the 6-ply ones, because it was so obvious. The difference is so obvious between the wooden boards and then the carbon fiber 5-plies and then the carbon 6. The difference was dramatic. Now I'm going to compile the data, and we're going to see the numbers, compare the numbers. These are all the different points of breakage of each board. I'm going to make this spreadsheet available in the description of the video, so you can check it out for yourself if you're interested. What I did is I took all of these, so that's 10 of the wooden ones, 10 of the 5-ply, and 5 of the 6-plies. I added them all up, and then I divided them by the number of samples, which got me the average. So right here we can see that the wooden boards on average broke at 26.4 kilos, the carbon 5s at 31.67, and then the carbon 6s at 37.5, but really all the boards but one that I suppose had a lamination defect maxed out the scale. So it's actually more than this, but that's the results we had, so we're just gonna roll with these. And what I did is I divided each average by the weight of each board. So the wooden ones, oh, there we are. So the wooden ones are 7 grams, the carbon 5 7.5, and the carbon 6 8 grams. And I divided, so the averages by that, and that gives me the strength to weight ratio. The strength to weight ratio for wood is 3.8, carbon 5 is 4.2, and carbon 6 is 4.7. And what I'm going to do now is a comparative, I don't know how to pronounce this. Comparative scale. Okay, I'm just gonna write it down. I don't know why I'm all of a sudden like Japanese. Comparative scale. Ta-da! So I don't know if this is really the proper mathematical way to do it. Hope I'm not doing something silly. But basically I'm gonna take the 3 strength to weight ratios. I'm gonna decide that my base number, so the 0 of my comparative scale, my 0 is gonna be the wood one, so 3.8. That's my relative 0, right? And I'm gonna subtract the base number from the highest number, so that's 4.7 minus 3.8, which gives me 0.92. So that's the highest number on the scale. That's a scale that goes from 0 to 0.92. 4.2 minus 3.8, that's 0.45. 0.92, I can actually kind of round this up because the test is not scientifically accurate already, so I'd say I can round up the 0.45 to a 0.5, and the 0.92 is almost 1. It would be more than 0.92 because all the boards maxed out the scale, so we don't know the real measurements. It's actually higher than this, right? And in the middle we got 0.5. So from that I would say that if my base number is the wooden one and carbon 6 is the highest number you can get, my conclusion would be that carbon 5s are 0.5 times more rigid than a wooden board, and the carbon 6s are 100% or more rigid than the wooden board. That's at least my thinking. Yeah, that's my thinking. If I look at these results, they kind of do echo how the boards feel. Carbon 5s do still have a hint of flex to them. They're distinctly more rigid, and carbon 6s are just rock solid. Now, to recap and tell you about how I feel about each type of board, and to help you pick one if you're interested, you've got our normal maple boards. They're nice and solid. They have a ton of pop. It's a great classic maple board with our signature high performance shape. Carbon 5s will be very stable in time when it comes to their pop. They are like a jumpier, snappier version of our common maple board. They're a bit counterintuitive in that they're 0.25 mil thinner than a normal 5-ply. They also weigh about the same, but they're actually more rigid. These are my personal favorite. That's what I ride, and it feels as though it kind of has a will of its own, and I really like it. Carbon 6s will also be very, very stable boards. They're 0.25mm thicker this time than a maple board. They are hyper solid boards for people who like the 7-ply heavier board vibe, with the advantage of not being as thick as a 7-ply and therefore providing you with better feeling of the concave and letting you take advantage of our board shape. Now, I'm no scientist, I'm no engineer, I'm just a fingerboarder trying to tell you about something I'm excited about, something we've been working on a lot these past months, and what I feel is a board you might like, and I hope you give it a shot. I'm very sorry I'm not putting out too much fingerboard footage. We're super busy, but I hope to get to film some tricks very soon. Please head over to december.ar if you're interested in the boards, and stay tuned for what comes next at December Fingerboards, as we constantly have something new in the works to make your time on the board more pleasurable. Thank you so much. Bye.